She's been through storms, she's walked through fire, still moves with strength, not loud but higher. No spotlight needed, no grand applause. She stands for truth, she knows her cause, and she's not perfect, but she's real and sure. A woman of virtue who will endure.
Welcome to Love, Ladies of Virtue Endure. I am your host, L.O.V.E, and joining me are my two lovely co-hosts, TG and Crystal. Hi. Otherwise, TG is known as Tanya. So, thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight, we are going to talk about dating, marriage, and divorce. So, dating, courtship with purpose, marriage covenant, not just contract, and divorce handled with grace and truth. But before we get into our topic tonight, I just want to say that tonight is our last live broadcast. So we still will be coming on Thursdays at 7, but it's a pre-recorded show that we'll be putting out. So once again, we thank you for watching us and tuning in, but the next episodes will be pre-recorded. Thank you. So tonight we are talking about dating, and I'm first because I am single and I am dating. We're trying to date, but I don't have no one to date because it's very, very difficult to date as a believer. So, there's like all kinds of things that keeps, I believe, a woman of God from finding the right man. So it's not hard to find a man now. There's plenty of, they call them fish in the sea. There's plenty of fishes in the sea, but not the ones that I feel that God has for me. So how do you, as a woman of God or a lady of virtue, find a man to date? So you should have some principles going on, some standards. And one of them, I feel, is seeking God first. So if you make sure that your relationship is right with God and you're, you're serving God, you're trying to live out your purpose, and you're just right with God, in one alignment with God, then you're in a good place to hopefully for God to send the right person to you. But it's interesting because I don't know if Crystal, the devil sends people too. And the devil sends people more than God sends them. I'm like, God, why can't you send me a man? But I get all kinds of men from the past still wanting me. Be like, are you saved yet? Or do you love the Lord? Yeah, I love the Lord. But it's not quite the discernment of his character, the fruits of the Spirit. That's what another thing you need to look for. So that kind of rules out them. Then the next thing is, if you're dating a man, is looking for like boundaries. Like, is he going to cross the boundaries that you have set for yourself? What you believe God wants you to do as a believer in dating. I had a question posed to me one time. And this isn't the question, but I had a question posed to me. Would I date someone unsaved? And I had to say no, because to me, as a virtuous woman, I'm taking a step backwards in dating someone who isn't saved, because he doesn't know how to be the man of God for me. If I needed him to pray for me, if I was sick, or we're going through, or I'm going through things, I don't think he's going to know how to have my back like he should have it. So I'm just going to say a no for dating someone who isn't a believer. And it's just difficult dating apps never worked for me. I'd find someone, oh, I love the Lord, preaching and everything, but still, fall short when it comes to the fornication thing. And that's for me my biggest thing, because if that was one of my strongholds in the past, I wouldn't want to have to deal with a man that still has that issue. And I had revisited a relationship because I thought that man was the person for me, and I thought I let a good one get away. So I called him up. I'm still praying for a man now. I'm supposed to be waiting for God, but I'm going to try to speed up the process.
Just help him out a little bit.
You know what, God? Let me ask this other guy back into my life. He was decent at the time when we dated. He didn't try to have sex with me. He was a gentleman. He was everything that I thought I needed now as a believer. So then I asked him this one question, because he goes to church and he serves in the church as a greeter. And I asked him, I said, hey, would you sleep with someone you're dating? And he said, absolutely. And I was like looking for the nod, but he just said, absolutely. And it kind of threw me off guard, because I was like, you're not on the same page I am. I said, you would still do that, even though you know that it's wrong. And he said, yes. Do you want me to lie to you? I was like, well, absolutely not. Don't lie to me. But then he said, if she doesn't want to, then that's fine. But I couldn't stand comfortable with that, because it's like, if I already know that you're not honoring God while you're single, then I would have trust issues. Because if you can't, this is for me, if you can't control yourself being single, I would think he would cheat on me. I know it's crazy, but I would just think those kind of things, because he wouldn't honor God living a single life saying that he loves the Lord. So for me, it's just been difficult out here trying to find a man. I'm trying to wait for the Lord to send him. I try to test the spirit, looking for those fruits of the spirit, making sure he is walking the walk that he talks. This has all those things. And that's the number one thing, that he loves God and he serves God wholeheartedly. And there are other things that I have lowered my standards just a little bit on, because I used to want these model type men and everything. And, I got them, but that doesn't necessarily, if God brought me someone that wasn't a model type, but I still have to be attracted to him.
Yeah.
I can't look at a guy and be like, oh, he's not cute to me, but I can't. But I truly believe that God will send me somebody who I am attracted to. He may not be attracted to others, but there's something that I find him attracted to, attractive. And so that's what I believe. That's what I'm waiting for. I haven't had, God just says, be patient. And I'm still trying to be patient. But I'm trying not to make it an idol, because I'm still serving the Lord and I'm still doing the things that I want to do. But don't think that if I'm in a grocery store and I see a man and I'm like, is that him, God? Or in the church, a new guy comes in the church, is that him, Lord? And you try not to do that, but it's a desire. And God says he'll give you the desires of your heart. Now, I had a question posed to me last night in this kind of single group that I'm in. And it kind of blew me away because I never thought about it. But I'm going to ask you two ladies, and I want to hear what you think. So the question was posed that if you met a guy and you were dating him and he had all the attributes that you wanted in a man, he served the Lord, he loved the Lord, he was a godly man, all this stuff, checklist, check, 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 check. So one day you guys are talking and he says that before he really gave his life to the Lord, he was attracted to the same sex, but God delivered him. Would you still date him?
That's a good question.
I know, it kind of blew me away because I was like,
it's a good question, and I have had that conversation with someone before. For me, I probably would not.
Can you say why, or you don't want to say why?
No, I don't care. I would not because I don't believe that God is able to heal and restore. I do believe that He is able to heal and restore. I just don't think that that's something that I could deal with. Right. I wouldn't question his faith journey now. I wouldn't question it. It's the same as for me, if there was a guy that had all of those same qualities and he told me prior to us meeting or prior to him being delivered that he was a murderer or a pedophile or whatever. There's certain things that I just can't live with. And I'm okay with that. I know my mind. I know my thoughts. I know things that don't sit well with me. And so that would be something that I don't know if I would be able to be comfortable with. But I can never say never because I don't know what God is going to do. Right. God would have to touch my heart and shift me in a way where I would be able to pardon that. And it's not for me to pardon because that's his walk with God. But he would have to shift me in a way where I knew for a fact that he was saying, this is him. And if I didn't know that for a fact, like he got to come knock on the door. Hey, Tanya, this is him. Flashing lights. So for me, it would be a no. I do know people that have, and that's okay, whether it's male or female or whatever. And that's on them. I'm not knocking it, but for me, it's a no.
Crystal.
Everything she said.
Yeah, everything she said. I responded on the thing and I said, that was pretty deep, but I did say that if I'm praying and seeking God and, the discernments and everything like that, and like you guys said, if God says he's the one, then I have to honor what God says because I don't want to miss my blessing.
Correct.
Would it be difficult? Not gonna lie, it would be because in the back of my head, we're gonna have some conversations. Like me and him, we'd have some conversations and to delve deeper in it, even though he was delivered, but my curiosity would want to know why, those kind of things. So
yeah.
For me, we would have to have some very straightforward, hard conversations. We would have to have some plans in place.
Right.
It would have to, it would need to be some reassuring and
Right. Yeah, that kind of threw me for a loop because I was like, I never even thought of that because it's like, who would? Like, I don't know, but I guess people do. And like you said, Tanya, you had that conversation before, but it just threw me for a loop. So do you guys have anything to add on dating? What you may, a believer looking for a spouse would do other than the praying, seeking God and
I think that that's good. The praying and the seeking God. I know that that's so cliche. We say that about everything, but that's really the foundation of it all, right? Is praying and seeking God and understanding that, patient in dating. Patience is so important, and I know most of us miss that. I miss it, right? I miss it in a lot of things. But being patient and waiting on him, because we're like, God, like, when is my time? Year after year after year is going by, like, but I think sometimes when we do move outside of him because we want it so bad, right? And we go and find that person that might be a good person, but might not be the God person.
Right.
And that can lead to just devastation and divorce, essentially.
Mhm.
So I think that having our standards, having realistic standards, right? Because some of us do have unrealistic standards. I want a man to make 6 figures. I want him to be 6 feet. I want him to be a model. I want him to be dark and have this type of beard or no beard, or I want him to be bald, or like all of these different standards. I think can be unrealistic when we're seeking someone, and we can miss out
Yeah.
on a great man because he doesn't fit the mold. But what you said is important. We have to be attracted to our mate. We have to be
Right.
attracted to the person that we're going to spend the rest of my life with. I'm not
Right.
trying to marry somebody that I can't look at. Like,
I know.
hey, babe, I want to be able to look at you and hug you and gaze into your eyes and all the things. And
Right.
you're right. He might not be attractive to anybody else, but
Right.
if God puts him in my sight, then yeah. But I think that, having those realistic standards and then, like you said, not wavering from them is important too, because when we waver from our standards, then we settle.
Right.
And it's not about settling. Oh, I can waver on the specific looks or specific height.
Right.
But I can't waver on characteristics, right? I can't waver on morals and values and things like that. I mean, I can, but it might not be beneficial.
Yeah,
So,
it wouldn't be your best.
yeah.
Crystal, anything?
I agree with everything that you all said. And like Tanya said, Lorraine, I think it's very important. First and foremost, that we are praying and seeking God. Praying and seeking God over and over again, because
and listening
and
Listening. Yeah.
That's the one. Listening, like, because I personally have been in a situation where I just wasn't listening because I wanted something so bad that I became impatient, and like you said, let me just help God out with this one. Maybe
Right.
it just how you get into this. I've been in this space where it's like, maybe I'm just being too rigid. Maybe I just need to be a little bit more flexible. Maybe I'm being too hard, and I'm going to miss out on something that's from God because I'm being too rigid. And that really wasn't the case. It was just I wasn't listening because I wanted what I wanted. And I think it also is important to remember that God doesn't always deliver or send the person that he has for us the way that we envision or think that it should be.
Right.
It doesn't always go the way that we thought it was going to go. God has a funny way of shifting and moving things where, we might think that it's supposed to go a certain direction or look a certain way, and he turns that thing around and, it's right in your face. Thinking that, being careful not to think that if it doesn't come wrapped in a certain package or look in a certain way or saying a certain thing or move in a certain way, and I'm talking about like our
preferences.
Exactly, our preferences. God doesn't work on our preferences.
Right. I think for me too, the way I would know is just if he's living for God and he does not try to sleep with me, I would know he's the one because I've never had that. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that would kind of be one of the telltale signs other than the fruit of the spirit and knowing. So I'm waiting for that day to come. And when that day comes, then I'll be married. And now we're going to drift into marriage. And Tanya's going to take over this topic. Go ahead, girl.
Oh, I thought you was going to ask me some questions.
No, I
Wait,
want
what?
to have you talk about being a believer and
Okay.
getting married and how the marriage should be a covenant and not just a
I'm
contract.
tracking. Got it. Okay. Dang, right? This is real talk, y'all. So I
Real
think that
talk.
a lot of things so one thing that I have learned talking to women in general is women want a wedding and not a marriage. I'm gonna say that again. Women want a wedding and not a marriage. And what I mean by that is, like you said, marriage is a covenant. I'm not a big believer in a lot of the different contractual laws that we have here. I think that they're man-made. I have my own views on them. We could talk about them another day. But I think that contract is, we look at the contract and miss the covenant, right? So the covenant is a lifelong covenant, right? And I understand that that covenant gets broken sometimes depending upon what it is and our understanding of it, because I have a broken a marriage previously as well. But marriage is really, as a woman, is me, you know, submitting to the head of my household, right? And a lot of us don't want to hear that. So it's not about me being in control or me doing whatever I want to do. It's about me, putting myself to the side and serving my husband as my husband serves me, right? If we look at the biblical model of marriage, it's husbands love the Lord, right? And then it's also love your wife as Christ loved the church. So that means he puts his life on the line for me. So if he is putting his life on the line for me, why would I not submit to him? Why would I not come up under him and do the things? It's not a wifely duty, but it's an honor and a pleasure and a privilege, right, to serve him. And so being a Christian and being married I think it's a beautiful representation of what the church should be,
Right.
of the love of God, right? Because again, it's we're honoring him, our husbands, with who we are, the same way that we're supposed to be honoring the Lord, right? And as we honor our husbands, we are honoring the Lord. And I tell people all the time, they say, well, my husband is not this or he's not that. My question is always, who chose him? You chose him. So if
Yeah.
you chose him, me and Andre talked about this last night, or it might have been this morning, but we talked about submission. And I said, we have made submission such a dirty word. I said, but submission is not a dirty word. And he said, yeah, especially if you have somebody that is worth submitting to. And I said, yes and no. And he looked at me like I was crazy from a man. He was like, what do you mean? He said that man has to give you something to submit to. I said, yes and no. If I chose him, regardless, it is if I chose him and I'm saved, right? Because I can't talk about somebody unsaved because your duties are different, I guess.
Right.
But if I chose him and I am saved, the Bible says that I should submit to my husband. Right now, if he's telling me to do something contrary to the word, that's different. But if he's not telling me to do something contrary to the word, to what God says, it's still my duty to submit to that raggedy man. Like if that's what I'm, because I chose him. Right. And so that's why it goes back to what you were saying, Laura. It's so important for us to be good choosers.
Absolutely.
We have to be good pickers. And I think that we all have the story that at one time we might not have been so great pickers, or something shifted in the relationship, right?
Right.
And that's okay. But as we learn more we know better, we can do better. But I think that the covenant is so sacred. Marriage is a friendship, right? Anybody that sees us knows that we have an amazing, I don't just say that, and I'm not bragging about it. And it wasn't always that. We've had our issues, we've had our ups and downs, but it's about being able to work through it, right? And I think Crystal, you were the one that says, sometimes it doesn't come to us the way we think it should come. Now, let me say, I think my husband fine, right? I think he the finest thing on walking. I don't care what nobody say, right? And I ain't the only one that think that. No, stop. I think he's a handsome man, but he is not. We say this all the time. If our relationship didn't happen the way it happened, it would have never been a relationship, right? Because he wasn't checking for me, and I wasn't checking for him. We were in two different situations, two different circumstances, and our from what we thought, our thought process didn't align, our spirituality didn't align, any of that stuff. And so it wasn't somebody that I was seeking after, right? Nor was he seeking after me, which is the crazy part. Um, but as the years have gone by and we began to discuss and explore, our thought process and our spirituality and our love for God aligns way more than we ever thought it did.
Mhm.
And so I believe that I almost missed out on a blessing because he's not a churchgoer, right? And so I was the same way. If he ain't in church, I don't want him. And I'm not knocking that. I agree with that. I still agree with that, right? But I talk to Crystal all the time. I'm like, I had somebody that was in church. I had somebody that was loving God. And I am not bashing at all. I believe he was loving God with everything that he knew to do. But I don't believe he was the one that God had for me. Right. And so it was outside of my box and outside of my norm. Now, I'm not pushing that on anybody else. I agree. Have your standards, your boundaries, and make sure that, unless God says otherwise. But I believe for me, God said otherwise. Right. And it turned into an amazing covenant. And it is a covenantal marriage, right? It's not just a contract. It is a covenant that is like no other. And I'm grateful for that, right? I am grateful for that because, like I said, it's not like anything that I've ever experienced before. And I will submit every day of my life, right? You want a sandwich? What is it? Robert Mackey, David Mackey, whatever. Daddy want a sandwich? Make daddy a sandwich. Okay, what you want what you want on it?
Right.
Some mustard. So I don't even like mustard in me. I don't like to touch it. I don't like to look at it. Crystal, no, I'm like, don't put. I'm spreading the mustard. What else you want? Here you go, sir. Like, because that's who I chose.
Right.
Yeah, but it can be difficult. Marriage is not easy. We have to work at it, and I think that that's another part. Like,
The
don't want just
endurance part of it.
yeah, yes, ma'am.
Endurance. Go ahead. Finish. Are you done?
No, I
Oh.
just that's it. I mean, I can go on and on, but I just think that when we get married as women, as godly women, it is not dirty. It is not a chore to serve and to submit to your husband. Because when you marry the one that God has for you, he will serve and submit to you as well. It
Absolutely.
Right.
looks different, but it's the same, right?
Mhm.
It's about honoring what God has given you.
Right.
And if you can honor what God has given you, then you'll have longevity in your relationship,
Right.
right? I, in my own right, I'm doing my thing, right? I have my own business. And I'm not bragging at all, but he does too. But at the end of the day, I tell people, I am not, if I could be barefoot and pregnant for the rest of my life, let's go.
Mm.
Living on a farm, taking care of the babies. Like that's my mind. I'm an old school person, but I think that sometimes we have this modern mentality and we don't want to do what we're supposed to do. I'm gonna leave it at that because somebody getting mad. But
So I want to throw in, and this is what I forgot in the dating part, that dating with purpose. So I firmly believe that, and this is just my belief, that the person that I marry, whatever his purpose is and whatever my purpose is going to kind of align up so that we can help each other do what we need to do.
I
So do you
agree with
believe
I
that?
agree with you 1,000%. I think that people look at us and they're like, wow, I believe that we are a power couple, right? And maybe I'm not, maybe I shouldn't be the one to say that, but I do believe we're a power couple.
Right.
And it's because although I have my own thing and I can do my own thing, I will drop that in a heartbeat to come up under what he has going on. And because it'll also enhance his. And so we can merge it however God sees fit. But you're right. I think that he's not doing his thing over there and I'm doing my thing over here, but we're able to attack this thing together, and I can enhance him, he can enhance me. But I believe philosophy of Tanya, the man is the one that should have the vision and the purpose. I can enhance it. I have skills to push you along, but it's not about Tanya. No, you're gonna come work for me in my business. Wait a minute, that's not the order. He is the head. He's the head. And you're right. I believe that God is going to align you guys to where, your purposes come together and it just explodes. Right. And it's going to blow your mind. I totally believe that, Lorraine. Yeah.
It becomes kingdom work because that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Absolutely.
That's why there's such an attack on it.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
So and in that regard, should they be of the same faith?
I believe that it helps. Absolutely. Yeah, now, and I say that because so over the years, I have shifted my perspective a lot. I think circumstances that I've been through and that I've seen have shifted my perspective from churchianity to Bible and his word. And I think sometimes we teach stuff with all good intention, but it might not be truly what the word is saying. So I think that yes, they should be equally yoked. I think that their faith should align. They should believe the same thing. They should be walking the same path. I do believe that. I believe that can look different sometimes. Like I said, he's not in the church for different reasons, right? But he knows the word. He understands the word. He understands and knows prayer and does those things as well. And so, like I said, it wasn't until my thought process is, you ain't in the church, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. Boop, bounce, right? That was my thought process. And I was okay with that. I didn't have any issue with that. You couldn't tell me that I was wrong or anything. And I still don't think that that's wrong. But I think for me, based off of my experiences, right, it was different. And my issue sometimes with the church when we're in relationships is instead of people coming alongside us, the first question is, does he go to church? Well, guess what? I had somebody that went to church and it didn't work out. You know what I mean? Like, and again, I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not here to do that. So you didn't ask, what he believes. You didn't ask how he treats me. You didn't ask, do we align? None of those questions get asked. It's just, does he go to church? I don't want somebody that goes to church. I want somebody who is the church. I want somebody who loves God. I want somebody who loves me. I want somebody who is going to uplift me. And you can be in church and you can preach and you can teach and you can sing and you can usher and you can take offerings and all the other things. I don't care. Philosophy of Tanya. Ladies listening to this, if that's what you desire, rock on, sister. But for Tanya, that wasn't for me anymore. Right. And I still love God. And people will question, well, do you really? I do. I love him with all my heart. Right. I serve him with all my heart. I just serve him differently now because my vision is different. And some of the scales that I had on have come off. And I think that that's offensive sometimes to people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all about how your relationship with God, what you feel God is leading you to, what you feel God has for you. And nobody knows what God has for you other than you if you're truly, walking with him.
Yeah, that's true.
So you just have to grasp hold of that. Anything you want to say, Crystal, about marriage? Covenant, not a contract?
I'm just going to go back to just kind of piggybacking off of what Tanya said about the whole concept that I think that we have a habit of um, putting the way that God does things in a box, based on our own preferences and traditions and teachings. And um, God don't move on our time. He's God, and he knows way more than we know. And I agree with everything that she said.
Right. Yeah. It's, and I kind of find,
About this.
I kind of feel like out of all the believers I know, nobody knows no one that's single looking, that a single man looking for a wife. I'm just like, that's kind of hard to believe, but okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just that walk of faith when you're dating to get married with a purpose. So, what happens when you date? You find that God sent one, you marry them, everything is all peaches and cream, and life is lovely. But then Satan walks in and introduces divorce. How do you handle that with grace and truth? And we're going to allow Crystal to talk about that.
You want me to talk about it?
I want you to talk about it because wasn't it recently or within how long for you?
So I've been uh separated for 5 years,
Okay.
um, and officially divorced for a little over a year.
Okay.
Um, and what a journey. Um, Grace and truth. Okay, so my biggest challenges, my biggest challenges when we talk about navigating through divorce with grace and truth, was unforgiveness. For me, that was my biggest battle, my biggest hurdle to get over. I had gotten to a very dark place of unforgiveness. Of I was carrying bitterness. I hated the guy, to be honest. I felt like it would be better to grieve his death than grieve in this way,
Mhm.
um, because it was almost like it was a continuous grieving. Um, it was like when you grieve somebody passing away, um, over time. I don't know. It's different when you're grieving somebody that you still have to look at and interact with.
Yeah.
And so um, it was one of the most challenging, probably the most challenging thing that I faced. And so I remember just wondering how I could get to a place where I did not live in unforgiveness. Like the bitterness was literally killing me. It was, and I'm not, I mean, people that know me, I don't like to hold on to stuff. Like every day is a new day. I don't want to hold on to stuff. I can't hold on to it for too long. I need to, we got to talk about this. Let's move forward. Those things are exhausting for me mentally and emotionally. And so walking in bitterness, being bitter like I was, it was literally killing me. And um I started watching I started watching sermons every day. I would go on YouTube, I would wake up and find sermons about forgiveness. Like I heard sermons about forgiveness from everybody. Talk to me
Mhm.
about forgiveness, please, because
Right.
I'm struggling here. And because what do you do? How do you get over something, and how do you forgive somebody who is actively harming you and hurting you um continuously, like over and over? um and so I remember, I don't know, I must have heard a sermon, and something that resonated with me that I kind of held on to that kind of stuck with me was that forgiveness is not a one and done. It's not something, especially when you're dealing with a situation like this. It's not a one and done. It's not, okay, I forgive you. All right, let's move on. When you're dealing with us, for me in my situation, there were things that were continuing to be done. So how do I it really, the scripture about forgiving 70 times 7 really came to life for me. Because it's like, okay, it's a continuous thing. It's literally a continuous surrendering of this offense to God. It's literally running to him when I'm offended with my emotions. Is literally running to him, I don't know, like hot potato. The Bible says cast your cares, and the word cast in that scripture means to like fling, throw. So it's kind of like throw, like I'm throwing this off of me. It became such a practice. I slowly, when I say slowly, started to feel the burden become lighter and lighter. I literally experienced God like transforming, just shifting and changing my heart within, gracing me with more compassion, more understanding as to why, when you see a person, when you see and God gives you understanding on why they do the things that they do, it brings about more compassion. It brings about it's easier to forgive when you can see the I'm gonna like let's talk about I'm gonna reference this with kids. When you understand that, I don't know, you have more grace with a little kid who smacks somebody that make them mad, right? A little kid, you have a little bit more grace with them than you do a big kid. You big enough to know better than this. And so when you're dealing with somebody who just they don't know, you can see that I mean, we do what we know how to do. And when you're making decisions and you don't even recognize and realize the harm and the impact that it's causing, it kind of removes the offense. And so it makes forgiveness just a little bit more easier. And also finding myself again, finding my worth again, in the journey of divorce. You get so wrapped up in, I mean, I was trying real hard to make things work. I was doing all the things that I thought I needed to do to work it out. But when that didn't happen, moving into this, I got married when I was 21. So that's kind of like all I knew. And so coming out of that into, I'm a whole big grown up, and finding myself, learning myself at the space that I was now, versus then. And giving myself grace was the biggest thing that I had to learn to do in the journey of divorce. Because man, I can't tell you how many times I just kind of beat myself down for, things that I look back and say, well, I should have did that differently and I should have did this differently, but I can't go back,
Right.
So how do I use this to, make steps of growth and move forward, even to help other people, and not to do it again, So it's not a divorce is not easy. For me, it's grief.
Yeah.
You're grieving the loss of something, and depending on how long, something that you've been connected to that has defined you for a long time. And so learning myself outside of that, it has been a journey. I'm at a place now where I can actually say that I have, that it was a good thing, that it was, and that I appreciate it, and that I'm happy that God allowed that, and for me to go through that, because I see things so much clearer now. I see I understand God better, because he's been there in those dark moments. It has deepened and grown my relationship with God. It has deepened my awareness of myself and who he made me to be and who he's called me to be, and expanded my confidence in who he's called me to be and my comfortability in who I am. And so it's not an easy journey, but it's for me was necessary, and I'm grateful for all of it, honestly.
Right. So can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Were you, before you got married, did you pray about him, or was God kind of the focal point, or was he not?
Well, I thought I did. I did. I did pray and ask God to send me my husband, and I asked him to make it clear who he was, and I believed in that moment that was who God sent for me.
Okay. And I'm asking this to try to get some kind of, like, if you can reflect back, is there or was there a red flag that you may have seen now that you didn't see then, that like the blinders were there because maybe you just wanted to, you believed this was God? What was the red flags back then that maybe if you would have listened, or that you wouldn't have moved forward with the marriage?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that, because I mean, and I don't know if I haven't really put much thought into this. So I'm this is definitely real talk. I'm bringing it here.
Right.
We're on the couch, okay?
Right.
Couch talk. I think that if I was a little bit older and had a little bit more wisdom, when the girl that he was involved with before I came along called me to tell me woman to woman, I probably would have either I probably would have extended the time of getting to know each other more before we went through with the marriage. I would have put things on hold. Let's hold off for a little bit. And maybe I may have just called it off altogether. Maybe I would have just taken a break altogether. Just
Right.
Let's just take a moment. Let me go in my prayer closet.
Right.
But then there was a part of me at that age. I mean, I had just turned 21 when I got married. So there was a part of me that was just kind of like, you know how females can be when they're messy and they're young and they just, they want to kind of throw a monkey wrench in. I viewed it as that, like, okay,
Right.
whatever. But knowing what I know now and what I have experienced, she probably was right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
so, had I waited and kind of like put things on hold, those things probably would have been revealed. And I think that every time, I don't know, I feel like perhaps there are red flags that we just either are too naive to see, or we just dismiss them. And I think for me, I was young. I was so green,
Yeah.
And there were things that I just kind of let go that I shouldn't have let go. Like I shouldn't have. I became boundaryless, honestly, and I just didn't know any better.
Right. Because I think that. Oh, did you have something, Tanya?
No, I just said that's good. That's good.
I think that I lost my thought. I think that each and every one of us kind of knows if we're following God, what is for us and what is not for us. Just like I said, for me, the dating game, I'm not going to compromise. I'm going to keep my standards. Right now, I am at a point I do want to be married, but if that's not in the picture, please God, please let me. Well,
Yeah. We all like, please, please, please.
but what could I do? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not just gonna go and marry someone just because I want to be married. I'm gonna remain the woman of God and honor God and his word and do what he tells me to do. But it's a journey, as
Yes.
everybody can see. Everybody has their struggles and things like that. But can I say, Crystal, that you found somebody that you're dating and everything's a-okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yay! So,
Lorraine, I think
congratulations.
yeah,
Go
exactly.
ahead.
That's a whoop whoop.
Mhm.
Congratulations, for
Right,
real.
right.
Because you're right, it is. It's hard out here in these streets,
It
for
is
a
very
saved
hard.
woman. But I love what you said, Lorraine, about not relaxing your standards. I think that that's so important because the
Yes.
Yeah.
question that you asked, Crystal, did you see a red flag? Were you praying? You're right. We see red flags. But either we're either too young or we're so engulfed in what we want that we're not holding to the standard. So for
Mhm.
me, I was saved when I got married the first time, and I, was seeking God. We were both in the church, and I did see the red flags as well, right? The main red flag is that he didn't want to be married, right? And so, no, I mean, real talk.
You did?
It's like, one of the things you said is, what do you do when you're trying to find a husband? That's the first issue, I believe, is because the Bible says a man who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Mhm,
But we're trying, so I found a husband, right? I found
mhm.
somebody, I had a child already. And so I was like, okay. So when he finally asked me, it's like, yes, he asked me. I think that there was so much pressure from the church. He was, he's not a horrible guy. I'm not here to, that's the father of my children. I'm not going to knock him, right?
Right,
Regardless of my own personal feelings towards him. So he was a good guy. He was in the church. He was doing the things that I felt like he should do. I just don't believe. I believe it was ordained for us to have those babies,
right. Yeah.
for us to
That's how
bring
I
forth those
feel.
babies. But aside from that, I don't believe that how they say my person, whatever that means. I don't think he was my person, right? I
Mhm.
still can't figure that out. But
Right.
and so I think that I wanted to be married so bad that I did, I don't even know if I relaxed my standards at that age. I think that, he was a great man. He seemed great. Everybody said he was great. So all the things. So I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. He finally wanted to get married after I kind of like had pressured him into it. Right. And then he was like, sure. And I was like, yes, we're getting married. And so with this marriage, I wasn't looking for you. I didn't try to find you. I wasn't asking you to marry me. None of those things, because I knew that I never wanted to be in that situation again, right?
Right.
Regardless of anything else that was going on in my life or that I was doing, I knew that I did not, like Crystal said, that's like a piece of you ripped away, right? And
Right.
but no, I'm not asking you to marry me. If you don't want to marry me, so be it. If you don't want to
Right.
spend your life with me, so be it, right? And so when he brought it up, we were all like,
Mhm.
like, you playing? Right. And then we brought it up, and then it was a random Wednesday. It's like, hey, let's go do this. It's like,
Right.
okay, right. Sure, let's do it, right. So yeah, I saw the signs because I was the one that found him, I believe,
Right. Right.
right. And I never wanted to do that again. So I like that you said these are my standards. I'm not relaxing them. It doesn't matter what anybody says. I know that for me, and your vice is different from my vice, right? So
Mhm.
I might be able to handle something and it not be a big deal for me. And I'm like, okay, whatever. As to where
Mhm.
you like, no, because that was a stronghold for me. So
Right.
if you saying it might be okay, then we gonna, you know. Somebody got to be strong.
Right.
If one is weak, the other got to be strong. You know, if we both weak, then we screwed.
Right.
And so to have those boundaries and those standards, I think is great. It's not like you're saying, oh, if he ain't 6'5" and this, I ain't. No, it's these morals and values and the character flaws. If he got
Right.
these character flaws, I don't want anything to do with it because that's going to bring me down. So I'm going to keep serving God, wait on him. And again, that's the hardest part, is to wait on him. I used to tell people all the time, I'm never getting married again. I knew I was never getting married again. I also said I was never having any more babies, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
see how that worked. Let me see how that worked out.
Right.
I'm 0 for 2 or 2 for 2. I don't know however we want to say it, but you know, but because I was like you, there were certain things I just wasn't gonna do, and I was adamant about that.
Mhm.
Hey, live your life.
Right.
I'm not chasing you. I'm not harassing you. I'm not trying to make you marry me. I'm not trying to make you fall into a box that I want you to fit in. None of those things. I don't have time for it.
Right.
That's not what I desire to do.
Yeah. Then too, for me, I've been married twice and divorced twice. Actually, my first husband married me twice, and then I married again. So I've been married 3 times. But anyway, so yeah, I guess I kind of enjoyed it, but not in the Lord. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to,
Yeah,
being
yeah.
married in the Lord.
In the Lord.
But
Yeah.
what I was going to say about now that I know how to discern the right man for me, it
Yeah.
makes dating for me a little
Hard.
easier. So I'm not caught up in a relationship with somebody that I know is not for me because he's doing stuff outside of
Mm-hmm.
the Lord. Because I could be probably married right now. I can be married right now if I just said, hey, okay, you're right. God said you're the one for me. And I know he isn't. And I wouldn't be happy. And like I said, he wouldn't be happy. And I'm just gonna wait. Like,
Yeah.
am I
You're a
shooting
better
myself
picker.
in the foot? I want to wait because if I put
Yeah.
myself in a situation like I did when I was married, my first 2 times, um, I wasn't happy. I got beautiful children out of my marriages, but that's like you said, that's if that was the reason God joined us together, then that was the reason that he joined us together. But
Yeah.
like now I'm ready to do it God's way.
God's way. Yeah.
And just waiting
Nice.
for my prince or my king rather. I need
Yep.
a
Yep.
king, not a prince.
Yep. Awesome.
So um well, ladies, do you guys have any more to say on either topic, dating, marriage, or divorce?
I'm sorry. Yes,
No, go ahead.
I just want to say that if there are any women that are watching this now or happens to watch it and you are experiencing divorce, please find you a community. Please connect. You can reach out to us because that is not something that you should take on alone. You should not go through that alone. It is not easy. Um, and I think that it is highly important that you are connected with community and women who are going to lift you up and love on you and encourage you and help you navigate through all of that. So be encouraged.
Yeah,
And also
absolutely.
with the dating, even though I don't like to keep looking up in females' face all the time, but sometimes you just want to entertain a man. But having sisterhood to helps break the loneliness.
Yeah.
If you know you have a community that you could hang out with and um, do that, that helps a lot. A lot of times I spend time by myself, but it's okay. I do have male friends, but we understand our place. They know where I am with God. And so we're not equally yoked, but we're friends, if that makes sense. So that kind of helps put the man figure in my life where it's not like dating, but having a social life with a man, you know. So nothing's wrong with that as long as you don't intertwine that, I think, you know.
Yeah.
So, Tanya, do you have anything to say?
I think both great points, you know, community, single, community and divorce, community and marriage. But I think the bottom line is what you started out with, Lorraine. Pray and see what God is telling you. So pray, and then after you pray, listen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Aisha, I don't know if you guys heard her post. She talked about uh she did a post where she was waiting on somebody, but eventually she said that God had spoke to her and said, you don't even wait for me this long. Like you pray and then you don't wait for me this long. If you haven't
Wow.
seen it, go, it's on Facebook, y'all. But
I wanted to see it. I saw it, but I didn't listen
yeah,
to it.
it's so good because it's true. We will pray and ask God for so many things. Shout out to my girl Aisha. We will pray and ask God for so many things, and then we get up and we just move. Right? We don't sit and wait for him and listen to what he's telling us to do. So he may be saying, "Hey, get up and go over here." He's over here. Hey, get up and go over there, or stay right there. I just want to spend some more time with just you and me while I'm
Right.
preparing you to be the wife that you need to be, because sometimes we need to be prepared as well, right? It's not just about a wedding. It's not just about a ring or any of those. It's not about a house, right? Buy your own house, your own, you know, have your own party and get your own ring and your own car and all the things, because marriage is not any of those things, right? It's about serving, submitting, and loving your spouse as he does the same for you. So listen and wait, and while you wait, get your community.
Right. So overall, in dating, seek discernment. In marriage, seek covenant faithfulness. And in divorce, seek God's healing and restoration.
Mm-hmm.
So that wraps up our show tonight. Went a little longer, but we're kind of on time in the broadcast. Remember, next week's show is going to be recorded. This is our last live broadcast, but we'll be back scheduled at 7 o'clock. We love you guys. Thanks for watching and have a good night. Bye.
She's been through storms, she's walked through fire, still moves with strength, not loud but higher, no spotlight needed, no grand applause, she stands for truth, she knows her cause, and she's not perfect, but she's real and sure, a woman of virtue who will endure.